Illinois!
That's right, 'tis the season for another NHL hockey season, that is. Nick Buckler alongside Dan Myers for the Red Wings preview edition of the wrap-up. It's fun, it's great, it's hockey.
It's back.
It's more than hockey, as they would say on their commercials. It's back. This is what we live for, at least myself and my partner Dan Myers on the show. Dan, before we get into the Red Wings, we're just going to mention the Michigan Wolverines win 28-0 on the road in their first Big Ten game against the Maryland Terrapins. And then the Michigan State Spartans sneak by Purdue at home on homecoming 24-21. That game was absolutely horrible for them. They dropped from number 2 in the rankings to number 4. Michigan moves from 22 to 18. They have a big test against Northwestern. All right, we covered it.
Yeah.
Oh, the Lions play Monday Night Football this week. They're the last team that hasn't won a game in the NFL. Who cares? Now there's something that we can all cheer for. The Detroit Hockey Red Wings, Dan Myers, the Red Wings preview. That's right. This is it. This is the season. It's now. Some key additions in the offseason. Mike Green, obviously a huge addition from the Washington Capitals. He lost his D partner in the last preseason game against Pittsburgh due to a leg injury. He sprained some ligaments in his foot. That's Danny DeKeyser, who's going to be playing with Mike Green, the big offensive-minded, still great in the D zone, right-handed shot, quarterback on the power play. Defender, Mike Green, big addition. Quincy's going to move up and play with him, which leaves a spot for Jakob Kindl to get in on that third pair with Brendan Smith. Dan, what do you think?
I think it's great. I love the addition with Mike Green. He's obviously a solid player. This is only his second team he's ever played for. He played for the Caps, and he fits well with a good puck-possessing team like the Wings. So he's going to be a great addition for them. The
other addition that they made, a big one, not Mike Richards. That's his horrible brother, Brad Richards. I was still in the Mike Green mode, and now at least there's a Richards named Mike, so I don't look absolutely horrible.
There you go.
But Brad Richards, he comes off of a Stanley Cup championship team in the Chicago Blackhawks. Actually, today, he's in Chicago picking up his ring. Good for him.
Yep.
Let's get another one this year. He's going to wear number 17, and he's going to center the second line now with Pavel Datsyuk on the IR to start the year. Mike, can't get that Mike out of my mouth. It's Brad Richards. He's a veteran. He's won 2 Stanley Cups. He's a guy that's going to add a big spark to this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like you said, he's going to pick up his ring. And, that'd be great to, I don't know, maybe someone would say it's immature. Maybe it's not too classy. No. But bring it. Show these young guys that are coming into the locker room, this is what it's about. This is what you play for. Aside from raising that cup and skating around with it, you get one of these rings too, and I think that'll really spark, a lot of these younger players coming into the locker room to see, this is what happens at the end of the road. You do it right, this is what you're going to see. You're going to get one of these, and I think that'd be great to show them.
Didn't Scotty Bowman just say the ultimate in hockey is the Stanley Cup?
Absolutely.
That's right.
And the second is the ring,
and not winning. No, it's all about the jewelry.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so now we're going to break through the lineup. The Red Wings made some cuts. They sent some guys to Grand Rapids. They still haven't officially finalized that roster. They have till 5 p.m. Tuesday. So later in the week, we'll know who's on the team. But the big one that made the team that we know he's going to play on opening night, he'll be a top 6 forward, is the rookie out of U of M, University of Michigan, the highly touted draft pick, 15th overall 2 years ago. Dylan Larkin will be in the lineup, likely on a line with Henrik Zetterberg and Justin Abdelkader on opening night. That's a top line. Jeff Blashill, the head coach, is very excited for him, as am I, as are you, as is pretty much everyone in Hockey Town. What's Dylan Larkin bring to the table, Dan?
Well, not only does he bring his Big Ten Freshman of the Year trophy to the table, he's incredible. He does need some improving, but the fact that he's putting him on the line, such with Zetterberg and stuff like that, it's just amazing. And who better to teach him how to skate and how to skate better than those guys. So absolutely, that's going to be incredible, and I'm really looking forward to him.
I see 30 goals in the future for him, and maybe his first year. If he can stay healthy, he's playing on a line with Abdelkader's in a contract year this year, he's going to score a lot. Zetterberg's always known to be one of the best assist guys, playmakers in the NHL. Great two-way forward. Sure, speed's not where it used to be. Let's touch on Zetterberg.
Yeah.
He was on a down offensive year last year. His assist numbers were up. His goals were down. He went through some droughts. His faceoffs weren't there. He was battling. He was coming back from a back injury that he suffered in the Olympics 2 seasons ago. In the preseason, I liked what I've seen from him. The play against Toronto on Friday night when it was chipped into the zone. I think it was Green, chipped it in. And Abdelkader goes off the end boards to Nyquist. Nyquist, no look behind the back, and Zetterberg was right there for the slam dunk. That's a goal that you see in like February when your team's pushing for a playoff spot. Everyone, and I was there that night, everyone there was absolutely hype, if you will say. Because I can't use a different word because that's what the Joe Louis Arena atmosphere was like. And it's always like that. It doesn't matter if it's preseason. It doesn't matter if it's regular season. It doesn't matter if it's playoffs. It doesn't matter if it's a concert. The Red Wings vibe is there.
Yep.
Didn't you see, who was it? Who'd you go see? Pearl Jam there?
Absolutely,
this past year? And who's the
Eddie Vedder.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't. He probably told me his name. I couldn't understand
Eddie Vedder, yeah.
Because you can't really understand much of what he said.
Yeah,
that was pretty good. But he did mention during the concert, I'm surprised you can hear us with all these championship banners in the arena. And it's when bands from out of town are respecting the team.
Seattle bands are
the
saying stuff like that.
The product that's on the ice is absolutely incredible. So we've touched on Zetterberg now. We've touched on Pearl Jam. We got that in. Pavel Datsyuk, starting the year injured. He's on track. He's been doing off-ice activities. He's on track for an early November return. That's good. He's been banged up, but I think this is going to be his last major surgery. It was ankle problems he had. He's good now, and I think he's going to have a good year. Datsyuk's a guy that the Red Wings need to be healthy. He is the best two-way player in the NHL. When you ask players in the league, they have the utmost respect for Pavel Datsyuk and just some of the stupid things he can make look so easy.
Yeah.
And the earlier the better for him, but I don't want to rush him back.
No,
for him to be out when we need him. Crunch time, we're making a playoff push in the playoffs. Dan, what do you see from Pavel this year?
That's great. Like you said, you don't want to rush him. Unlike some other sports teams in this town, they rush their superstar out too soon, and it showed. But going back to the Wings, definitely take his time. And we're in good hands.
Just, were you talking about the team that we don't talk about anymore on the show? And
quite possibly.
A guy who just won the batting title, Miguel Cabrera. Congrats to him.
Like this team's in great hands. I mean, you were obviously at the game. You didn't hear it, but Mickey Redmond said this team.
I'm sure I could hear it. He's pretty loud.
That's true. Yeah, this team is in definitely a regular season mode, mid-season mode. It wasn't this preseason, we're still trying to work out our kinks, get the rust off from over the summer. No, I mean, a play like that, you just watch out. Seriously, watch out for these guys. But yeah, they're absolutely. I expect a lot from Datsyuk once he does return. He sounds very confident. I know it's very cliche for players once they're hurt to say, "Listen, I'm feeling better than ever." Blah blah blah. But I've seen him around town. He looks like he's getting better. Yeah, I ran into him at Partridge.
I do remember the story. He's gimping around on crutches.
He was, but he was very optimistic. I asked him.
Or were you gimping around on crutches?
I think it was both of us.
Yeah, you both had ankle problems at the same time. Two of the greats in our city, Dan Myers and Pavel Datsyuk, were injured their ankles at the same time. If that's not coincidence, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Continuing.
But no, he looked very enthusiastic. For someone, I wasn't in the best mood, walking around, and I don't play professional sports like he does. That's his job. So to
Call
see
it what you will. I think you do.
He's doing a great job. He looks healthy. He's ready to go. Obviously, he's still got a lot of work to do, but I'm very excited to see how he comes back from this. It's just bothering him, and he can't wait to improve. And I think we're in great hands this year, especially with this young talent we got coming in. We got the young coach who's not worried. He doesn't worry about making maybe a decision that you might not normally see from an experienced coach, but. This is a new league. It's new rules. This is the 97, 98, style of hockey. This is definitely a finesse league. And hopefully bringing into a younger coach will, show that, we're ready to go and we're going to play in this league too. And we're going to make our name out there again like it was.
And a couple of rule changes that the coaches are going to have to deal with this year, obviously. We all know about the 3-on-3 overtime. That's going to open up the ice a lot and cause more goals in overtime, obviously, which is good for the Red Wings fans because the Wings, we didn't fare so well in shootouts last year, and that's going to cut down on shootouts. Only 18% of the games in the preseason that went to overtime went to a shootout. That means 82% of them, they ended in that overtime, and that's going to cut down the shootouts dramatically, and I like that because it doesn't matter who your goalie is. Goalies aren't liking shootouts. Apparently the Wings forwards weren't liking shootouts either. They couldn't dent the twine. Another rule change, there's now a coach's challenge implemented into the league, which I just researched this a little bit last night, where it's on offsides plays that lead to goals. Obviously, we've seen that last year a handful of times when it's pretty blatant. Mickey Redmonds pointed it out to us, viewers, that a player's offside and they don't call it offside and they go on to score. Goalie's furious, defense is furious, fans, more importantly, furious. You can now review that. Another thing is the goaltender interference. You can review that. The league can review it. The coaches can review it. So now it's not like last year we saw in Washington when Luke Glendening and Braden Holtby were behind the net and Holtby falls down. Luke Glendenning's nowhere near him. The ref looks. Drew Miller scores. He waves off the goal because he thought Glendening and Holtby collided. The replay then showed it wasn't even close. And it was a phantom goalie interference call, if you will. And the Wings ended up winning the game, but it could have been a drastic change because every year the playoffs come down to 1 or 2 points and who makes it. And somewhere along the road, some team could have gotten screwed on a call. And now this will definitely help prevent that, and they'll get the calls right. It'll go up to the war room in Toronto. They'll look at it. They'll get the call right on the ice. And the coaches are allowed one challenge. But if you lose a challenge, you lose your timeout. If you win your challenge, you don't get another challenge, but you keep your timeout. If you already use your timeout, sorry about it, you don't have a challenge. So those are 2 things that I think this game has improved dramatically. And hockey's staying with the times. Rare that Gary Bettman allowed this to happen. In my opinion, the worst commissioner in any sport. We'll touch on that, hopefully never. But he's trying to keep hockey right there with your football, with your baseball, and bounce and squeak, or whatever they call it, basketball.
Yeah.
That's right. I don't even know if do they have replay? I don't know. Who cares? Moving on, Gustav Nyquist. This is a guy who is, if not elite now, he's going to be very soon. He's speedy. He's got moves. He plays 2 ways. He's a leader off the ice. He could be the next captain when and if Zetterberg steps down or decides to call it a career. And when then one of those guys move on, whether it be Datsuk, Zetterberg, or Kronwall, I think him and Tatar are right there to get the next A.
Absolutely. And
then C eventually. But I think Nyquist, head and shoulders, in the leadership category, is head and shoulders above anyone else going for one of those spots. And I think he's going to have a big year playing on a line with Thomas Tatar this year. Yeah,
Tatar has definitely shown a lot of improvement too. And, you're talking about earlier about Justin Abdelkader, teaching Dylan Larky on the line. Because, at one point that was Justin Abdelkader, learning from the best. Those Datsuk and Zetterberg, and put them in the Euro Twins. That was great. So, Tatar, he's got a lot of improvement that we've seen from him. That's great. And he's got great puck control along with Nyquist. So these 2 together would be a pretty strong line. I think Tatar and Nyquist are the new Euro Twins, if you will. 2.0. They're the next generation of Zetterberg and Datsuk, except I think they have potential to be better. Right. Obviously, we've known Zetterberg to be more of the playmaking type rather than the guy who's going to go out there and woo you with his moves. I think Tatar and Nyquist both can do that, and they both playmake. And give them a centerman like Brad Richards. This team is so deep this year, it's stupid. They have 5 lines. We're going to go through right now. I'm going to go through the list of players that the Red Wings have. You can tell me which one of these guys. We're going to say a player. We're going to say NHL ready or not NHL ready. Okay, obviously Zetterberg, yes. Datsuk, yes. The obvious ones. Okay, we're going to start the list. Zetterberg, Datsuk, Nyquist, Tatar, Abdelkader, Sheahan, I think, yep. Obviously Brad Richards. And now it gets a little hairy in here. We got Dan Cleary. Is he a guy, do you think he's going to make this team? No, I think they're going to kick him to the side for a while. We got a lot of junior talent coming in. And by junior, I mean, young guys coming in. He might be great for on-ice practices and teach him, do this, don't do this. So I really can't see him making the squad right now. But I think he will definitely be an asset off the ice and in practice, so no.
Okay, here's what I think about this. Dan Cleary, if he's going to be helping these guys in practice, doesn't he have to take up a spot on the roster? He would have to take up one of those healthy scratch positions. But I think he's a guy that they're gonna waive him.
Yeah.
No one's going to pick him up, in my opinion. He's going to go down to Grand Rapids. At that point, he has two options. A, call it a career, retire. Or B, mold these players, because the Red Wings love a guy like Dan Cleary. Last year, he was a valuable healthy scratch. And you may laugh at that and say, that's funny, you're joking. No, he was valuable in that healthy scratch position. He has such a way of carrying himself before games, molding players. He's been there. He's done that. He was very valuable in 2008 when the Red Wings won the Stanley Cup, or when they made the finals again in 2009. He was one of the most valuable players. He was on that line with Yuri Hudler and Valtteri Filppula. And there was Dan Cleary scoring goals.
Yep.
Now, obviously, when the puck gets on his stick, the game slows down for the worse. But at the same time, I think he's still valuable. I do think they're going to waive him before the 5 o'clock Tuesday deadline. I think he will then be optioned to Grand Rapids. So there's Dan Cleary. Sheahan, I think, yes, he's a shoo-in, as is Richards. Joachim Anderson. Here's a guy who battled around being a healthy scratch. He was a fourth-line center for a little bit. They moved him to wing. He's a great penalty killer. Right now, he has not been sent anywhere. He's still on the team, but they still have a couple spots that they got to get rid of. Does Anderson make this team?
No, I think they put him down in Grand Rapids, and he is sort of an injury risk, but I think he's got a lot more to prove, coming back from a lot of injuries, and there's too much other talent that we don't have these liabilities with. So, he's a great young player, but I think we'll be seeing him donning or repping a Griffins jersey. So.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one. I do think Anderson makes the team. I don't think he makes the lineup, but I do think he does take up one of those 23 roster spots. Do I believe he deserves it? Maybe not. I do think there's guys that have already been sent to Grand Rapids that should get the spot over him. Anderson's had plenty of chances under head coach Mike Babcock. He has been dinged up with injuries. He is very valuable on the PK and winning faceoffs, but I do think he makes it, but I don't think he should. The next guy, Drew Miller, one of the best penalty killers, and I think one of the most underrated players on this team. Drew Miller, to me, is a shoo-in fourth liner, no doubt about it.
Absolutely, yeah. He really showed himself in that Tampa Bay series last year.
He was one of our best players. Him and Glendening, I think, were 1A and 1B because we were so much more of a defensive team in that series, and we didn't really get burned too much by it. And obviously, we had a wall in net in Peter Mrazek. I think he had a great playoffs as well. Number 26, Tomas Jurko. This is a guy who had so much upside when he was coming up from Grand Rapids. He's flashy, but he never really made the transition to being an NHL player. Right now, he's still on the roster. Does he make it, and does he play?
Seeing what we saw, especially in that Boston game, he had 2 shots, and he had 2 points with those 2 shots. He had some back-breaking goals, which was great. And, every year is a new year. You can't look at the years past. It's, even though it's really easy to, and especially with certain contract players, but that's a different player, or that's a different team.
Okay.
Keep going back. But, he does have a lot of potential, and especially this preseason, I against that Boston game, it was really encouraging to see. I would like to see him play. Whether or not he does, it's a toss-up. I respect either decision, whatever they decide to go with, but I would love to see him have a solid spot with the Wings.
I'm going to say right now, Jurko makes the team, and I'm going to say he plays on the 3rd or the 4th line. Opening night. 29, Landon Ferraro. What do you see here? He's a guy who got called up late last year, played some of the games in the playoffs last year. He's had an average preseason so far. He's a guy who can kill penalties and play on the 4th line. Does he make it, and does he play?
That's a good call. I want to say he does. He does have that playoff experience, and that's a whole different overall experience, for lack of a better word, than a regular season. There's a lot more pressure, and I thought he handled his playing time great. I mean, for a young guy going and playing first round of the playoffs, after all the stress of them not making a consecutive year in the playoffs, they got that off their shoulders, and he was pretty solid in the postseason. So, yeah, I'd like to see him play.
This is a tricky one for me. Ferraro, obviously, now has some experience postseason and regular season as well. This is a guy who's out of options. You can't just option him down to Grand Rapids. He's out of options. He would have to be placed on waivers. Do I think he clears waivers and goes to Grand Rapids? Absolutely not. I think there's a laundry list of teams that would claim this guy off waivers. And for that reason, I think there's a player last year who was in the similar boat, Andre Nestrasil. He ended up getting claimed by the Carolina Hurricanes. And I'm going to chalk Landon Ferraro up to being the next Nestrasil. I think he gets waived sometime on Tuesday, and I think he gets claimed by a different team. And Landon Ferraro, I think, was a valuable player when we had him, but I don't think he's quite ready. There's a list of guys in Grand Rapids now who I think deserve the spot more than Ferraro. Not that he's a bad player, I just don't think he's the right fit in Detroit.
Yeah, you said it perfect. And we've had players we had great talent players. Look at going back to the first round. Filppula playing against us last year. That was a different Val Filppula that playing on that team than we had when he was playing in Detroit.
And a guy who I think is a better example than Filppula, Yuri Hudler. This guy came out of nowhere in Calgary, and he was fourth in the NHL in goals last year.
Absolutely.
Absolutely crazy, where the players that we kind of don't really care for here and the fans are kind of over it go elsewhere and become superstars. Good for them.
Doesn't mean necessarily that we have them, that they're not good players, or
Exactly.
that we get rid of them, that they're not good players. It's just we have a certain cookie-cutter set mentality and style of play, and they just didn't fit it. So, yeah, like you said, he's one of those players that we'll see later, and hopefully he has some great success, just not against us.
They almost benefit from a different system. The Red Wing system benefits the European puck possession style and the quarterbacking skills on the power play. More of a defensive team, but maybe Blashill's got something different in his back pocket. We'll see. The next guy, 39, Anthony Mantha. This guy got the Gordie Howe hat trick on the final preseason game of the year. He's a guy who last year was almost a little bit of a disappointment. He came off of a broken leg, never really righted the ship, but I think he's back, and I think we'll see him at some point this year in the NHL. He was already sent to Grand Rapids. This is an NHL player within the next 2 years, and I think due to injury, we might see him this year.
Yeah, he like you said, he was a disappointment last year, but like I said earlier, you're not supposed to look at last year. He definitely, I think that really woke him up, though. He definitely wants to be in the league. There was so much promise. There's people talking in his ear saying, we're going to see you in the show anytime now. And when he failed to show up, it didn't happen. So I think that was a real spark in the offseason. He definitely showed potential. And, we'll be seeing him soon, for sure.
Absolutely. Next guy, Luke Glendening. In my opinion, the MVP of the Tampa Bay series. When he got hurt, the team lost. And it was the line he was playing against Tyler Johnson. Luke Glendening, to me, is our fourth-line center. Hook, line, sinker, on the club, next player. Not giving you a chance on this
That's
one.
fine. That's
fine. Because I know you second my opinion on that.
Absolutely.
Next guy's Darren Helm. He's on the IR right now. He was placed on the short-time IR. Short-term, obviously. Dating back to September 18th was when he was officially pronounced injured. He had that nasty collision in Traverse City. He could be ready for opening night. He's obviously on the team. He's earned his spot in the last years. He's one of the fastest players in the league. He's one of the best centermen in the league. He can kill penalties. He can't really stay healthy. That's been a problem he's had all career. But when this guy's healthy, he's one of the best players on the ice for the Red Wings.
Yeah. He had 15 goals, 18 assists last year, 3 power play goals. That was huge. But the thing that worries me is you get collisions like that in practice. Sometimes you see with players that gives them a little goblin on their back that they can't really shake off all the time. So hopefully he doesn't have that problem.
Franzen. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, speaking of which, so hopefully he doesn't have that problem. He recovers, and he's one of those contributors to the team that helps improve winning percentage.
Yep, I think if he's healthy enough come opening night, I don't think he will be, but I think the following week he's definitely a guy who will be immediately inserted into that third line, fourth line area, probably more the third line. I think they're going to get him off center, and he'll play in a line with Riley Sheahan, in my opinion. Moving on, there's a guy, Colin Campbell, a forward depth player, sent to Grand Rapids. I think he's a guy who's never really going to work into the Red Wings' way. Cookie cutter. He's a guy kind of like a Jeff Hogan who's been the captain in Grand Rapids, a guy who was never really an NHL player, but they give him a chance, play in the preseason, maybe you can break out, but definitely just your average depth player in Grand Rapids. Moving on, Eric Tangradi was an addition the Red Wings made this offseason to add a big, powerful, physical wingman who bruises bodies, fights guys, and he can put the puck in the net. He's been back and forth from AHL and NHL. He was in Pittsburgh from 2010 to 2013. There he went back and forth, but then when he was traded during the 2013 campaign to the Winnipeg Jets, he became an everyday player. He was a third-line wingman on the Jets, and he was a valuable player for them. He was a depth player. He was fighting guys off. He was defending, hitting. He's a guy that the Red Wings need, I think. He will definitely be up this year because other than that, they don't really have that guy who's going to bang bodies. And I don't know if Franzen, he's shown it in the preseason that he's willing. If he stays healthy, great. But I think this is a guy, Eric Tangradi is a 26 years old, physical guy. He then last year got traded from Winnipeg to Montreal at the trade deadline, played 7 games, never went to their AHL affiliate. He's ready to make the switch from AHL to NHL. He was sent to Grand Rapids, but I don't think it's going to be long before Eric Tangradi gets called up.
Yeah, absolutely. We need one of those spark plug like guys, physical guys like we have in Advocator, maybe that can complement each other. So yeah, definitely get someone who's definitely has a physical presence.
The guy who's been battling injuries, Teemu Pulkkinen. This guy is ready. He's undersized, but his shot is a rocket.
Yeah.
Put him on the wing in the power plays. He in the power play reminds me of an Alex Ovechkin, smaller. I'm not going to put him in the same breath as Ovechkin, but definitely you see similarities. This guy is not afraid to shoot the puck, and that's something that the Red Wings fans are almost like, oh, thank God, because the Wings get so many open chances, but they pass so much. Maybe that'll change with the new head coach. Pulkkinen's a guy who's ready to make the jump, and right now he's on the team. Right. I think he could play on the third line with the Riley Shane and maybe a Darren Helm.
Yeah.
Power play, he can play on the point as well.
Yeah, and he's going to be strong, especially when we play teams that have a stronger offense, like Florida, believe it or not, with Riley Smith and Jaromir Jagr coming to the team. Yeah, he'll be a great asset for those more finesse teams. You know, not the rougher teams. He probably won't see as much ice time as he will, you know, with a big tougher team. But when we play finesse teams similar to us, he'll definitely be a strong asset for him.
Tyler Bertuzzi, the nephew of Todd Bertuzzi, he showed signs of greatness in the preseason. He's a guy within the next 2 years will definitely be on this roster once we start phasing out the older players, which I think should happen sooner than later. Bertuzzi's a guy who was sent to Grand Rapids yesterday. I think he's a guy who's going to make an impact physically, and he's shown in a 5-assist game this preseason. 5 assists, 1 game. He's ready to make the jump. He's just waiting for his opportunity.
I mean, look at this Grand Rapids team. I know we're talking Red Wings, but look, this Grand Rapids team with even Bertuzzi played. I'd love to pick up Bertuzzi, but you know, there's a spot waiting for him. It's just not void yet. And we're definitely gonna. I'm so excited to see this guy come up and play. You know, in the show. He's definitely a huge player that we could use, and a rough and tough guy. And you know, it's gonna be incredible to see them play.
These young guys. I know it's preseason. These young guys were so exciting to watch. And my personal favorite of all of them is Andreas Athanasiou. This guy has been physical. He's winning faceoffs. He's scoring goals. He'll drop the mitts. He'll do whatever it takes. He played for the London Knights in juniors, OHL. And then last year with Grand Rapids, he's a standout. He broke his jaw during the playoffs last year. He's back. He's ready. He's getting called up this year. I don't care what you say. He's going to be on the club at some point. He was sent to Grand Rapids yesterday. There's just so much depth. Yep. So much depth on this team that some of these NHL-ready players have to go to the Grand Rapids. Obviously, he still has some options left, so he can still go bounce back and forth. Because when you put this guy on waivers, he's getting picked up. I don't care. He led the Red Wings in goals this preseason. He played 5 games, and he's been I can only say so much about the guy. He shares the same birthday as yours truly. Makes him even more valuable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Larkin, obviously, we talked about him making the team.
Yep.
And the last forward on the list is Johan Franzen. This is a guy, for me, who I think is going to break out and be the Franzen of old. He's physical. He's battling concussions. Only one more blow and his career could be over, but I don't think it's going to come this year. Chuck 30 goals up for the Mule. It's hockey season.
It's here. It's ready to go.
Hey, Hockey Town. Let's occupy Hockey Town for the full season. For Dan Myers, I'm Nick Buckler. Go Red Wings.